Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into history, but not the kind you might expect. We're not talking about epic battles or famous kings, but something that affects every single one of us every day: money. Specifically, we're going to explore what might be the very first currency crisis in human history. It's a fascinating story of innovation, greed, and collapse that happened in ancient Rome, and it holds some surprisingly relevant lessons for our modern world. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's travel back in time. This was better, but still had problems. Cattle die, salt gets wet, and carrying around a dozen cowrie shells to buy bread isn't exactly convenient. Then, around the 7th century BC in Lydia, a kingdom in modern-day Turkey, a revolutionary idea was born: coins. They took a precious metal like electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver, stamped it with an official seal to guarantee its weight and purity, and voila! The first metal coins were created. This was a game-changer. Coins were durable, portable, divisible, and their value was intrinsic because they were made of precious metal. The idea spread like wildfire, and soon, civilizations across the ancient world, including the rising power of Rome, adopted coinage. For centuries, the Roman currency system was the bedrock of its economy. The silver denarius was the workhorse of the empire, a coin trusted from Britain to Egypt. Its value was based on its silver content. A denarius was, for all intents and purposes, a small guaranteed amount of silver. This stability fueled trade, allowed the state to pay its soldiers and administrators, and helped build one of the greatest empires the world has ever seen. The system worked because people had absolute faith in the coin. When a merchant accepted a denarius, he knew he was getting a specific amount of real, valuable silver. This trust was the invisible glue holding the entire Roman economy together. But empires are expensive. Wars, massive building projects, a sprawling bureaucracy, and the infamous bread and circuses to keep the populace happy, all of it cost a fortune. And as the Roman Empire expanded, its expenses grew exponentially. The flow of new silver and gold from conquered territories began to slow down. The emperors found themselves in a classic bind. Their expenses were rising, but their income wasn't keeping up. They needed more money, but the silver mines couldn't produce it fast enough. So what did they do? This is where our story takes a dark turn. The Roman emperors, starting with Nero around 64 AD, came up with a clever, but ultimately disastrous idea. If you can't get more silver, why not just use less silver in each coin? This process is called debasement. They started mixing the silver with cheaper base metals like copper or bronze. At first, it was a small change, barely noticeable. A denarius that was once nearly pure silver might become 95% silver. The government could take that 5% of saved silver, melt it down, and mint even more new coins. From the emperor's perspective, this was a brilliant short-term solution. Suddenly, they had more money to pay the legions, fund their projects, and settle their debts. It was like a magic money tree, and for a while it seemed to work. The economy kept chugging along, and most people didn't notice the subtle change in the coins they were using. The government had effectively created money out of thin air, a process we would now call inflation. But this was just the beginning. As Rome's problems mounted, particularly during the crisis of the 3rd century, the temptation to debase the currency became irresistible. A succession of short-lived barracks emperors, who often seized power through military coups, needed cash fast to pay off the soldiers who put them in charge. The debasement accelerated dramatically. The denarius, once a symbol of purity and stability, became a shadow of its former self. By the middle of the 3rd century, a coin that was once almost pure silver now contained less than 5% silver. By the end of the century, some silver coins were basically just bronze with a thin silver wash that would rub off after just a few weeks in circulation. Imagine getting paid with a coin that looks silver one day and turns out to be copper the next. The Roman people weren't stupid. They started to notice. They could feel the difference in weight. They could see the coins turning a different color. Merchants began inspecting coins more carefully, hoarding the older, purer silver coins and trying to pass off the newer, debased ones as quickly as possible. This is a classic economic principle known as Gresham's law. Bad money drives out good. The good, High silver content coins disappeared from circulation, hidden away as a store of real value. The result was a complete and total loss of trust in the currency. The invisible glue that held the economy together dissolved. Why would a farmer sell his grain for coins he knew were essentially worthless? He wouldn't. He'd either demand payment in older, purer coins, or more likely, he'd just refuse to accept the official currency altogether. The economy ground to a halt and began to revert back to barter. People started trading goods for goods again, just like their ancestors had done centuries before. The complex, sophisticated market economy of the Roman Empire shattered. This collapse in trust led to a phenomenon we are all too familiar with today: hyperinflation. As the government pumped more and more worthless coins into the economy to pay its bills, the value of those coins plummeted. Prices for everyday goods skyrocketed. Historical records show that the price of a measure of wheat, which had been relatively stable for centuries, increased by thousands of times in just a few decades. Think about that. The money you saved was becoming worthless almost overnight. Your salary couldn't keep up with the exploding cost of food. This wasn't just an economic problem. It was a societal catastrophe. It wiped out the savings of the middle-class, impoverished soldiers and led to widespread unrest and instability. The economic chaos fueled the political chaos of the 3rd century crisis, creating a vicious cycle that nearly tore the empire apart. Eventually, emperors like Diocletian and Constantine tried to reform the currency, introducing new coins and price controls, but the damage was done. The trust, once lost, was incredibly difficult to regain. The economic foundations of the Western Roman Empire had been fatally weakened, contributing to its eventual decline and fall in the 5th century. So what can we learn from this ancient story? The parallels to our modern world are pretty striking. Today, almost all of our money is fiat money. A dollar bill or a euro isn't backed by a physical commodity like gold or silver. Its value comes entirely from the trust we have in the government that issues it. We accept it as payment because we trust that others will accept it from us. The Roman story is a powerful cautionary tale about what happens when that trust is broken. When a government creates too much money to pay its debts, it erodes the value of the currency and can lead to inflation, or in extreme cases, hyperinflation. We've seen this happen time and again throughout history, from the Weimar Republic in Germany to modern-day Zimbabwe and Venezuela. The fundamental lesson is that the value of money is not just about economics. It's about psychology. It's about collective faith in a system. The Romans learned the hard way that once that faith is gone, the entire economic structure can collapse with shocking speed. It's a reminder that sound, trustworthy money is a cornerstone of a stable and prosperous society, a lesson just as true today as it was 2,000 years ago. What do you think? Are there other historical parallels you can think of? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history and economics. See you in the next one.